Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea Radio, where we interview awesome singer-songwriters and those who influence their lives. Spill the Tea Radio explores the journey, creativity, and inspiration behind the songs. My next guest is a producer, arranger, and sound engineer on a slew of international award-winning records. He is also an accomplished musician and prolific songwriter, creating 6 albums of his own music. His music collaborations have sold well over 100 million records and earned 4 Canadian JUNOs, a GRAMMY, a Polaris Music Prize, a Canadian Screen Award, a Community Service Award, and 3 international AMPEX Golden Reel Awards for excellence in the music business. So, let's spill the tea with Chris Birkett. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. That is one heck of a pedigree, Chris. And you've worked hard for it. You've worked
Yeah,
you worked a number of years for it, and you've done it in a couple of different countries. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the beginning of your career. You started in the UK, and you built a music career there. Tell us about your upbringing, your childhood, where the influences for music came from.
Tell us about your mother.
Get on the couch, Chris.
Right,
Tell us
okay.
about your mom.
Okay, Carl. We're gonna. So yeah, I started in a very poor family. In fact, my mother and father broke up when I was 4, so me and my sister literally grew up on our own. And my father was a long distance truck driver. So basically, it was a kind of sort of grey, miserable childhood. You know, I don't really remember much about it, except that I had this burning desire to play music. And I joined the Sea Cadets, and I became one of their top drummers in the Sea Cadets band. And but I had to have an instrument to play on, so I borrowed some banjo strings. In fact, they're old ones. Somebody gave them to me, and I rummaged around in the garbage, found some wood, and nailed together my first instrument, which is a little box guitar, kind of like a ukulele thing. And I started making sounds on that. And then when I was 12, I saved up every penny I could find, and got a kind of club book guitar. You know these books that you pay so much a week. You know, so it's full of all sorts of stuff. You know, well they had an electric guitar in there. So I'm left-handed by nature, but I couldn't afford at that point up to the age of 12. I was playing guitar left-handed. You know, going this way. Right? So, but I couldn't afford the left-handed version. It was like almost twice as much. You know, supply and demand stuff, right?
Right.
So I got I bought the right-handed one, and I decided at the age of 12 to switch over. And I'm so glad I did, because, you know, if you go to a jam session these days, it's really hard to find a left-handed guitar. You know, I mean, Jimi Hendrix did a great job, so did Paul McCartney, but, you know, there's not that many instruments out there left-handed. So I'm really grateful that I took that effort to switch, you know. So my first guitar was a Japanese, it's called a Top 20 Stratocaster copy. And I made music on that, formed my own band in Farnborough, my hometown near London. And then got a second guitar, was a Gibson SG. It's the one with the 2 red horns. Yeah. And that was an SG Junior. It had a really nice sound, great rock sound. So I learned to play all these like Deep Purple and Rory Gallagher stuff.
Can you still play a guitar left-handed?
No, I can't actually. The only person I know that can play is ambidextrous is an artist called John Otway that I produced. But he's a punk singer from UK, and he comes to Toronto sometimes. But he's got this guitar it's 2 guitars joined together with a hinge, and he plays them both hands on stage.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's not the top level musician, but he's a great entertainer. Really good. Homeless on the streets in London. I was 19, early 20s. I just went to every audition, and I started playing in Irish pubs, and I managed to get enough money to eat through using my guitar. So, you know, it's always been a savior for me. The guitar is so important. So that was a brief history of how I started. And of course, there are many chains in the event which led to my success in the music business.
You went to France in 1993. What took you to France? What was on the music scene there that drew you
Oh,
into another country?
that's a very good question. In the early 90s, I was getting quite a lot of royalty money. One of them was, Sinead O'Connor. I did an album with her and with Nothing Compares to You as a single, which, as you know, sold was number one everywhere. So
Huge. It was huge.
so I was getting, in those days, you actually got paid royalties from record sales. So I got like upwards of $5 million in royalties just for one record. Right? So
Wow.
I had all this money coming in, and I decided I had it coincided with the midlife crisis. This is the odd thing. It's like a balance, dark and the light, interweaving and balancing each other. So I was working all the time, literally sometimes 48-hour recording sessions, with no sleep. And I came back from 3 months in South Africa producing a band down there. And my kids were, little kids are like 7, 10, they were kind of forgetting who I was because I was always away working.
Right.
And so I had a kind of a crisis at that. I just thought, well, this is like being a father, and being a good father is probably the best thing I can do on this planet, as a human being, right? But I'm not doing it. I'm messing it all up because my career is like completely taken me over. So I thought, well, when these royalty checks started coming in and I had all this money, I thought, well, I'm going to build a studio in the south of France, because I went down there a lot for holiday and I could speak French. So I bought an old chateau, 32 rooms, and I renovated it myself because I love renovating. I built 5 bathrooms and 3 kitchens and, all this stuff, and all this accommodation for musicians and a beautiful recording studio. And so that's it. I just thought, well, I've got to get used to, I've got to be a father again. So that really is my main driving force. And a lot of my friends in the music industry in London just said, you're crazy. Why, what are you doing that? You're right at the top of your career. Why are you doing that? And I said, well, it's a personal matter,
Mm-hmm.
So the studio in the south of France was really successful. A lot of people did a lot of great records down there, like Bob Geldof,
Wow.
Buffy St. Marie did some of her stuff down there. Etran Finatau. I worked with a lot of Peter Gabriel's musicians came down to record with me. So it was a success, really. Even though I'd left my high seat in London, it was still. And to be quite honest, I was getting a bit fed up with life in London. I felt that the music business at that time was going a bit downhill. That what was happening is this ageism was creeping in. So in other words, the A&R people were literally like signing fetuses from the womb. The younger the better. So, and I thought this is really destructive. Once if you're like over 18, they'll just laugh at you if you want to do music. And I think that's really destructive because people make their best music when they've had a long life experience, I find. So some of the best music comes out of people's lifelong experiences. And and we're discounting all that. And we tend to do that in modern society. We tend to be, just all about youth and beauty. And it's not about the right kind of beauty, which is the, beauty in music.
Let's talk about how you ended up in Canada in 2012. Your heart brought you here to be with your filmmaker wife, Joan Prowse. What was the transition like for you to come from the UK to another new country, separated by a massive ocean?
Well, you seem to know more about me than I do, which is pretty cool. It was I was working at the time on the 3rd album for Buffy St. Marie. It's called Running for the Drum, and that's one of the albums that got a Juno. So at the same time, they decided to the record company, which is I think it was True North, they decided to release Running for the Drum at the same time as a documentary made by a filmmaker called Joan Prowse. And the documentary was called Buffy St. Marie, A Multimedia Life. And it's all about Buffy's life in multimedia, how she was really into technology. So Joan was phoning me like for a couple of years prior to us actually meeting in person to get information. And I was even invited to Hawaii to do take part in the documentary, but at that time I was really busy. I couldn't do it. So we actually physically met at Massey Hall. I was playing guitar for Buffy. I was on stage, and we're doing songs from Running for the Drum, the new album, and it was a double package CD release. So Joan came up to me in the green room after the show, introduced herself, and we stayed in contact. And coincidentally, both our marriages went pear-shaped at the same time to a previous person. So we turned out to be free at the same time. So that's how I ended up in Toronto. So
Tell us, what is the similarities and the differences between the music scene in the UK and in Canada?
That's a good question. Nobody's actually asked me that question. That's cool. Cool. I think that there's a lot deeper culture, obviously. With all respect to Canada, because it's a new country in relative terms. That deeper culture has been drawn from by the Brit musicians, obviously, and so which gives the bands like Led Zeppelin, one of my favorite bands who I met. This is another story. Deep Purple, Free. They although they're influenced from American blues music, which is in fact at source African music, like so it depends how far back you want to go. The culture in England is very, very deep, and always has been. So that's probably explains why the level of music creativity from bands like Yes, who are my favorite prog rock band. They were drawing on classical music and influences, and stuff way back, and that obviously Canada being a much newer country, if you like, a colonized country from the indigenous people, we don't have that connection here, that depth of connection, and it's still growing. It's a new country, but I have to say that I really love it, because the fact that it's a new country is a different energy, and that energy of the old colonial energy from the UK was dropping away after Margaret Thatcher. She started to break everything up, and I found that's why I left the UK in 1993. One of the reasons, apart from my family, I was feeling that it was eating itself up. So and it's I'm very happy to be on this side of the water now. So
you seem like a pretty humble guy. You've worked with some massive names. You mentioned Geldof and Buffy St. Marie. You've worked with Glenn Milcham from Blue Rodeo and Rick Emmett from Triumph.
yeah.
And the list goes on, and the awards. Who keeps you humble?
That's a good. Never been asked that question either. That's really good. Well, I'm a person that's very, very interested in truth, and I've studied truth since the age of 19. I worked with a teaching by a chap called Gurdjieff in London for 15 years. I've studied Sufism, Tibetan Buddhism, every kind of ism on the planet. I've got books, and I've even been in temples and done meditation and worked with Buddhists and stuff. For me, realizing that I'm a living, breathing being fills me with gratitude every moment. And that's a song on my new album. It's called Gratitude. You should check it out. It's you can't not help but be humble when you see yourself as a particle in the big universe, the system of the universe, which is incredible. So we're just like we're like literally stardust, as Joni Mitchell said. And I believe that human beings are spiritual beings in human bodies, here to experience material life. And we're made of an energy matrix. We're not actually solid. We're just atomic. And that's how, for me, that's how placebo works. You've heard about placebo. Doctor can give somebody a pill with nothing in it, and it heals them. It's because the healing is done by the person. And I think that's miraculous, and also shows how much potential we have as human beings. So, I think we're developing. I think we're in the age of awakening now, which is a transition time. And I believe that we're becoming conscious, whether we like it or not, which is fantastic as a race. and probably with the help of intercommunication, the web and everything, it's starting to wake people up. And I'm full of positivity for the future, but also totally humble and grateful for being alive at this time. You know.
Anyways, let's get into one of the songs that Chris wrote. This song is the title track from Chris's 2024 album, She's My Guitar. Let's take a listen to singer-songwriter Chris Birkett and his song, She's My Guitar.
Looking at her body every night, so clear and so bright, she treats me right. Running my fingers through her strings, I know that everything will be alright. All those secret curvy corners puts my whole life into order. My guitar, she sings to me so true. I can hear sweet melodies from you. Playing all those songs she makes me sing. Don't need no wedding ring with my guitar. All the things I wish for, yes, and all the things I dream of will come true. My guitar, if I'm lonely, she surrounds me with such melody. How could I be blue? My guitar, she sings to me so true. I can hear sweet melody from you. I find that I'm awake until the break of day. The songs come through, and for all those melodies we make, the credit I can't take. It all came from you, my dear boy. Through my hands, my guitar, she sings to me so true. I can hear sweet melody from you. My guitar, she sings to me so true. I can hear sweet melody.
She's My Guitar by Chris Birkett. Chris, you told us a little bit about that song, but to re-energize us, what's the song about and what inspired you to write it?
The song is essentially a love song to my guitar. I should really call it My Guitars, but it doesn't sound so good to sing that. So, because I've got a lot of them, as you probably see, my rooms, I'm surrounded by instruments from all over the world here, mostly stringed instruments. But the song was born actually. There's a project called the Acoustic Guitar Project, which is an international project. What they do is they take a guitar to a city somewhere in the world and find a suitable musician, and they give the guitar to the musician for 1 week on the condition that you write a song on it and make a video to perform the song within that week. Wow. So I received this guitar from Roseanne Baker Thornley, who's a friend of mine. She brought it over, And it's covered in signatures because you have to, after you've done your song, you have to sign it, right? And I sat down with the guitar. It didn't take me a week to make the song. It literally came out in about 10 minutes because I found the guitar was full of melody. Yeah, some instruments have, especially this one, because lots of really great players had played it and written songs on it. The guitar was actually literally full of music. It just came out of the guitar. It didn't even come out of me. And that's the song, She's My Guitar. So it came from that occasion. And so it's, and I decided, I've got this song called She's My Guitar. Why don't I just put all the songs that came through my guitars to me on this album. So every song on this album actually just came through. They're not, I can't say I wrote any of them. They're just like gifts. I heard them in dreams. And
how do people find out more about you, Chris? What is the website? What are the socials? Where can they go and find out more about you and your music?
That's pretty easy. My website is chrisbirkett.ca. So Birkett spelled with an I, BIRKETT.ca, which is a Canadian site. And then most of my social media is under the handle of Chris Birkett Music. So you can't go wrong if you just Chris Birkett Music, Facebook, Instagram, they're all Chris Birkett Band sometimes.
Well, you've been in conversation with Chris Birkett. Chris, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. And I hope to see you when I release my new album called New Hits from the 80s next year, 2025. I hope to do an interview about it.
Absolutely.